You can cut this out, but just to be honest, God forbid the girl would be married and she's not virgin. Oh my God.
Wait, but it's okay for a man to live on his own, but a woman, if she lives on her own, she's a shalava? Why?
Welcome to this episode of Slatki Stol, where we discuss an important topic. Is there a right age to get married? And are we getting married for the wrong reasons?
With social media, we're all idolizing the same kind of beauty. And even if the perfect person did exist, we forget that they might not want us.
I had a friend said, oh, when I get married, it'll stop my porn addiction.
Should a man just get married because wasting seed isn't a sin?
Not necessarily marriage equals babies.
People are sometimes more scared of the taboo of being divorced than being in a terrible marriage.
Ketubah really is all about the man giving. It's all about him giving.
It's like
But she's not sleeping with anybody. She lives on her own.
Sit back, pastaf chai, and let's open up this conversation. People are getting married for the wrong reasons.
I think people are getting married because that's what your parents are nagging you to do, and the community. Hi, I'm a male. I am currently 34. I got married originally when I was 22, and then I got married again when I was 33. I believe that there's no set age to get married, but the Bukharian community puts a lot of pressure on people to just get married as soon as possible, and I think that's just terrible. Terrible advice.
I think a lot of young people are getting married to leave their parents' house, kind of and escape all the rules of their parents' house, and they don't realize the responsibility of when you do get married and you actually have more rules and you have more responsibility, and now you're heading your own household, and I think they're going into marriage blindly, not knowing what's expected of them in marriage. My name is Yafit Malakandov. Married name is Yakubov. I am currently 33 years old. I got married at 22 years of age, and my stance on marriage is get married when you find the right person. You're emotionally, mentally, and financially prepared to take on marriage.
I agree. You're kind of growing in a nest, and from this nest you go to another nest, and you're not used to even paying for your own bills or know how to find that extra money or do laundry. In my opinion, honestly, the world is so amazing and there's so many opportunities out there. People just don't want to explore it or afraid. Before marriage, there is an education, there's traveling, there's reading, there's different groups, sports activities. I think the easiest and the most comfortable way to do it is to get married young. Hi, my name is Irina. I am 50 years of age, and I've been invited to this interesting discussion today about marrying young versus marrying older. The first time I got married at 23, and the second time I got married when I was 40. I do believe that people have to develop physically, emotionally, professionally, go into this deed as continuation of themselves versus as a necessity to escape. In my personal observations, living in this community and many other communities, newer generation who've been brought up in this country, trying to define themselves, and sometimes marriage is not the right definition.
I also think that people get married to escape, but they also think that, oh, I'll get married, I'll have fun with him, and I'll be so independent. And yeah, like no rules, no responsibilities attached to married life. Hi, my name is Julia Davidova. I stayed on my maiden name, but my husband is Havasov. I am 40 years old. I got married when I was 29, and my stance on getting married is on 4 things. There has to be right intention, there has to be maturity, confidence, and flexibility. When you're ready with all those 4 aspects, that's when you're ready to marry. And of course, it has to be a right person where you connect and you have those, what they call butterflies, but basically there has to be a right connection, commitment, and love.
Yeah, I can say it more from a man's point of view. I know this is speaking from the point of view of certain friends of mine, to get away from the pressure of constantly hearing people say, why aren't you married by now? There are others who feel pressured, not really pressured, but it's more of an escape from loneliness. They want a partner, others for status, others for stability. I had a friend who I remember many years ago said, oh, when I get married, it'll stop my porn addiction. This way I'll have somebody to come home to. And again, he was wrong, unfortunately, and he ended up getting divorced, unfortunately. So Yeah, I do think people get married for the wrong reasons. I'm a male. I got married at 20 years old. I'm currently 30. And my view on getting married early, I don't think it's about age. I think it's more about being ready. I think it's not getting married for the wrong reasons. There are a lot of different reasons why people get married young, but I think it's just about being ready, asking the right questions, making sure your values align.
I don't know if that really defines the reasons per se. Do you think religion or the sanctification of sex is what really makes that happen? Because a lot of people can't date or enjoy single life at all without having some kind of social stigma put on them. Because a lot of religious people especially, how long can you be single for without sinning? You know, there's kind of a ticking time bomb that says, get married or what are you doing? You know, you can't go out there and enjoy life. What are you just gonna have sex with people and dance and do drugs? And it's all exaggerated, but yeah.
Just based on that, if your only reason to get married is to have that physical, I'd rather you have the physical part and skip marriage, because marriage is more than just physical. And yes, it's an important aspect of marriage. You can't have a marriage without the physical. That's the only relationship you cannot have without a physical. But if you're just marrying someone to have those relations, skip it. Like, don't get married.
But
that's the wrong reason.
Some people just...
You're right,
they
that's,
have to
again,
do
that's why we're saying...
But that's the thing, what to do behind the closed doors.
Who are you lying to? You have to know why you're having, can I use the word sex? You have to understand what sex is about. In general, just to bring that religious aspect, wasting is a humongous sin, especially for men. Getting married is a man's obligation.
You're right, but should a man just get married because wasting seed is a sin? Then you're ruining another girl's life, and that's not fair to her either. So yes, people are getting married for the wrong reasons, and this is one of the reasons. 100%.
What's the right reason to get married?
When you're emotionally ready, mentally ready, and you're willing to put in the work of what marriage expects. Like, I think we all can agree that marriage is not easy by any means. It's worth the work, but it's not easy. We have to put in the work in order to have a good marriage.
Yeah, but what's the reason?
Your partner will bring out the best and the worst in you. And I think I don't think it really matters about age. I think it matters more about if you guys align in your values. Everything else will kind of figure itself out if you learn how to communicate. And I don't think it's just about sex. If it was just about sex, then, I mean, there's so much more to marriage than just that. It is important, but it's an intimate and vulnerable part of the marriage. You don't need to rack up a body count. I think dating a lot is more about figuring yourself out.
Marrying young limits your ability to explore other relationships and learn what you truly need in a partner.
Agree.
I know I might look like a hypocrite sitting here. I got married at 22, but I learned a lot about myself because I was given the freedom from my parents to explore myself, to travel, to get an education, to really learn who I am as a person before I got married, before I actually started dating. Aside from myself, I've seen in other people, getting married young doesn't limit your expectations from a partner. It limits your ability to get to know yourself and discover who you truly are. And then going into a marriage and trying to put two people together who don't exactly know who they are into a marriage, that might not work.
I agree, same here. I think, again, define young. For me, the measures are, I strongly believe people have to finish an education. They have to finish their degree. Once you make money, or once you're financially stable, it brings something different about you. You know if you can do it. If you're not, you meet people at work, you meet people at potentially if there is an opportunity to do, let's say, consulting work in Dubai or somewhere in Thailand or Laos. You explore, you travel, you backpack, you know who you are, how you communicate with people, and that brings up the endurance, commitment, layers. It grounds you a little more at least in my experience. Marriage is a continuation of who you are. I was waiting for men to do the first step.
Does anyone want some poorly poured chai with a little bit of spill?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Because everybody's ready at different points in life. Everybody is mature at their own pace. It depends on your family status, mentality, everything. There's so many factors. You could be ready at 18. I was ready. I think I was ready. Very mature, not to sound cocky. Very mature, very knew what I wanted, knew the partner that I was looking for. And I was, 18? I just didn't get that person till I was 29.
I mean, we have to define young, right? When is young? I like to go with 25 because your frontal lobe just finishes developing around that average. But give or take, some people still develop a little sooner. Some people develop later.
Or never.
I agree, like our guest here, she was given the freedom, which I think is very healthy. She was able to learn about herself while she was with her parents, and I think that can happen with anybody. If you have good parenting, good guidance, good role models, you can know what you want early, but I think most people don't. I think on average most people know a little bit, 25 to 30. You can get married old and take your time and find the perfect person, or you can get married young. It's a little bit of chance, the fact that you run into them, and also financial support. I think it's easier when you're younger because financial stress puts a lot on kids, and you're young already. You don't really know how to manage emotions as well.
I wanted to ask him, if you don't mind, do you think you can grow together when you marry early or young, whatever that age?
Yeah, I think it takes a really mentally healthy person, well-adjusted, to do that, and I think most people don't, and we throw around phrases a lot, assuming they apply to everybody. Yeah, just work out, it's hard, make it work, but there's so many gradients of action and sin that can happen in that little definition of that word or sentence. So
The growing together doesn't depend on age, in my opinion, because in my experience, for example, we come from a different backgrounds with my husband, and we just had common goals. For me and him, it was ultimately what I saw. What is his views on bringing the kids? What are the standards? How do you want to raise the kids? Finances, or if somebody's not working or there's downfall in the family, like how do you react to certain situations? And we had common goals. What I've noticed, honestly, I'm sorry to maybe a little bit off topic, but I was thinking a lot, especially after first, what really defines people and what categorizes people. Yes, different dates, different people, different ethnicities, backgrounds, you name it. Humanity remains the same. And to me, it came down to 2 points: selfless and selfish attitude. Eventually, I start sort out people by, if you are selfish, it will never work with me, regardless of your status, upbringing, nothing. Selfless. And eventually I went with someone, because I'm by nature is selfless. Everything we do, and I think a lot of religious people also try to cry for this, but what I've also observed, the community nowadays, not only our community, but throughout the whole new generation of millenniums, as they call, it's all about me, selfish. And that's where, in my opinion, a lot of breakthroughs and cracks.
I think in general men are confused. We come from Samarkand or whatever, that mentality that the man is a dominant force. You come to America, it's all about me, me, me. The I mentality, what's in it for me? And then you go to the Jewish mentality where in the ketubah, does he really know what that ketubah, that contract has in it? Like, what are you signing? What are you giving over? So it's 3 different mentalities, or ketubah really is all about the man giving, 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 giving. It's all about him giving sexually, financially, mentality, everything. The man is there to give over. By the way, this whole point is based on Gedali Fenster's podcast. You could listen to him. Amazing what marriage really is. So it's really all about giving. So basically, it's like being selfless all the way.
Yeah, but not
when
only
you
from
give,
men.
you get.
It's not only from men.
But
I
it's
think
the
from
man
women.
that
No,
gives.
a marriage is give and give.
Yeah,
Both
no,
sides
of
have to
course,
give.
women
But if you don't water that flower, you're not gonna get a flower.
In Hebrew, the word for love is ahava. And the shorish of the word is av, which means to give. We cannot love somebody if we don't give them. And when both sides give 100%, both sides are receiving.
But it starts with the man.
No.
It starts with the man, in my opinion, and from what I've heard.
No, the wife and the man both have, and the husband have to
But
give.
if the man doesn't give and the woman gives, it's not.
That's why we're
it
talking
takes two
about
to
an
dance.
ideal marriage here, where both are
it's an
giving.
equality. That's why
We're
that's what
not
I'm
talking
saying.
about individual marriages.
But
we're
who
talking about
gives
the
over
ideal.
the ketubah and who says, will you marry me? It's the man. He's the one who's
Because
buying her over.
you're right.
Many
he's
women
buying-
that I've known have been so selfish, and the man giving and the men take care of it. In a nutshell, I would tell my kids, When they choose their partners for life, the nucleus of this whole individuality is about continuing being selfless.
From both sides.
From both sides.
Does anyone here think marriage is for having kids?
Just for having kids?
Yeah, mostly.
No, there are great marriages with no kids.
Procreation, you might say, but it's not just about procreation. A lot of marriages may not choose that path, and there's no judgment there either, but it's about commitment.
But I'm sorry, I just want to say, having kids is a mitzvah.
It is a
man's
mitzvah,
obligation.
but it's not the main reason to get married. Because I'll tell you something, I've seen lots of marriages where the focus at the early ages of the kids were on the kids. The kids got married, left their homes, and the two parents left as roommates. My marriage, yes, my kids are important, but they're not the focus of my household. The focus of my household are my husband and I. We have date nights. My kids know mommy and daddy are leaving to go have time with themselves. And I tell my kids, when you guys get married, you will have that. I'll watch your kids. So don't worry, you have a babysitter. But your marriage is important aside from the kids. Now, I'm so sorry. I would love to hear our anonymous guest's opinion. We haven't heard from you.
I really love what you just said, because I'm literally speaking about that, I think yesterday or today. I don't want to say who, somebody was basically telling me, you should tell your kids to clean up. You should tell your kids to do this. I'm like, listen, no matter how much you tell kids something, they're only going to learn by seeing what you do. So if they see that your relationship is based on just, teaching the kids and it's all about the kids, then that's how they will be. Tomorrow when they will value it's just about kids. But if they see that it's not just about kids, it's more than that, it's about the way you respect your partner, the way you value that relationship as well, that's how they will treat their partner in the future as well.
We have to show our kids what we want and what we want their marriages to be like. We're their first lesson.
But it'll come naturally between husband and wife if it's really that selfless approach.
Exactly.
To each
So
other.
marriage has to be both giving 100%.
I don't think marrying early limits your ability, because it's very important of how you treat your spouse. It's more important to define your values. And I think that, when you feel like you're ready for that, once you understand that, once you understand yourself, once you understand what you're supposed to bring to the table, then I think you can get married. I don't think you're gonna date a lot of people and figure that out. I think there's a different way to figure it out. Elders might say, I got married to one person, we stuck it out 50, 60 years and that's it. Other people might say, no, you should wait, date a few people. I just think when a person knows which questions to ask their other half, when a person knows what values they bring to the table and what, not really what they expect from another person, because like you were saying, selflessness is important. It's what I'm bringing to the table 100%. Whatever your partner can bring, that's what they bring, but don't go into any marriage expecting something. Once you're going in, I feel like it's already messing up.
Thank you to Gostockup for sponsoring today's episode. Gostockup is an online grocery platform and mobile app that brings a curated selection of over 4,000 national and international products directly to your doorstep. Designed for convenience and quality, Gostockup serves customers across New York City, including Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, and Long Island. With real-time stock alerts, bulk discounts, and automatic reordering, the platform emphasizes freshness and affordability, cutting out the middleman to offer competitive prices without compromising on its quality. Its user-friendly website and mobile app allows you to browse, order, and track deliveries with ease. Whether you're restocking essentials or exploring global flavors, Gostockup makes it simple to shop smarter and savor more. Save time, money, and stock up smarter by shopping with the app. Get 10% off your first delivery and free delivery on orders over $50. If societal pressures did not exist, I would get married later.
I didn't have the societal pressures of the normal Bukharian girl. My parents never pressured me, or my siblings in that matter. Like, my parents never pressured any of us. I just happened to meet my husband at the time that I did and felt ready that I would. The pressure didn't affect me.
For me, in my first marriage, if it wouldn't be for the pressure to continue dating for as much as we want, it probably would have been a different outcome. Because we've been dating for a year, and it's like, you gotta make a decision, and he wasn't ready, and that influenced the outcome.
I say that some people will say that pressure is part of life, and it kind of leads people into making the right decisions because people are young. And when you're young, you don't really know what you want. You go to your elders for advice. But I feel like when there is pressure, some people will make a rushed decision, and sometimes that can lead to mismatched divorces, etc.
Thank you. No pressure on me. Actually, my sister was divorced, so I feel like there was no pressure. It was just when I was ready. And my parents knew that I was mature and that I was looking for the one. It just didn't happen until I turned 29.
Personally, I felt pressure, religious, social, pressure to get married young. I think without any pressure, I probably would just get married whenever I found someone I really like. I personally believe marriage is most embodied and personified and maximized, with the main purpose being for having children. Otherwise, it's just dating with some, committed contract. I think the ideal balance is knowing when you're ready to have kids with somebody, which entails a whole slew of other things to be prepared for.
But why would you need a contract to have kids? The marriage is beyond. It's your exclusiveness. It's your
commitment.
Children is an outcome.
What defines the commitment?
I think marriage is more than children.
It's just not having sex with other people, the exclusive part, right? Otherwise,
No, it's also emotional and like the actual commitment of like, we're in this life together. We're working, aside from having children. You don't have to have children to have a good marriage.
that's true.
You really
The
don't.
Bukharian community pressures more to get married at a younger age, and do you think that reason is justified?
You can cut this out, but just to be honest, I'm in healthcare. So, virginity, the topic of virginity, okay? God forbid the girl would be married and she's not virgin. Oh my God, I remember my days, people used to say they would stand outside and test whatever. Never happened. Yeah, the bed sheets and all that. I mean, it didn't. Yes,
It was a thing back in the
It was
day.
a big thing back there. So a lot of girls, and maturity, why I brought the healthcare into this. All of us as human beings, they mature at certain, hormones, they mature at a certain level, physically, I'm not saying mentally, right? Your hormones are going, so it's normal. And obviously a lot of people want to express it one way or another, and most instinctively it happens with the next gender. Therefore, you can't just wait till 30. You can, but a lot of people cannot. And that's a taboo. If you're going to get married and you're not virgin, oh my God. And the guys come with this mentality that you should be virgin. So there's this catch-22.
It really is, because like there are guys who are like in their upper 30s and they're like, oh, if the girl's not virgin, like, but then you're limiting yourself to such a small pool of women at that age.
I can attest to that. I know people personally that they themselves have had sex with many women. They're not married. They're in their mid-30s, and they will not even look at her if she's not a virgin.
Which is, again, see, they're contradicting themselves.
But
That's
my
what I'm
husband
saying.
mentioned that now it changed. Apparently, if you're a virgin, you're not wanted. You're like
Your husband. How does the husband know?
I'm telling you, that's what the talk
I don't
is
know.
about.
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
know
It's
what
just
Matt
it's.
he's saying.
To what I gather, I observe a lot of young people. I go to a lot of weddings. They're very, very young. And one of the things that I've been told, this virginity thing, unfortunately, is still a big deal. Therefore, people can't live. I always told my brothers, my cousins, everybody, live on your own. Live on your own. When my husband left, the option back then in 90s was for women to go back to your parents' house. I didn't. To me, this is an obstacle of life. You overcome it. You don't run away, you don't go around, you overcome it. Yes, people would call me names. The neighbors was watching what time I came.
You felt pressured by your parents?
I wasn't pressured at all. No, I told my parents. For me, this is just another obstacle of life. Just like you, my father and my mother handled immigration, for example. I just have to move on. I lived on my own. I continued living in that apartment.
As a man, what do you guys think?
Oh no, and then I heard
as men,
more.
how do you look
They
at divorced
suture it.
women?
Yeah.
How do you look at divorced women?
I happen to be a little bit more modern. I don't
Now
think
it's
anything wrong with
different.
it.
Now it's different.
I think it's fine. It's also the norm. I mean, a lot of people are divorced, but you're also talking to someone who was divorced, so I was granted a lot of empathy for people. I started to really understand, hey, this can happen to anybody. It's usually younger, inexperienced people, and the people who had it perfect, but they just got lucky, or they just stayed in marriages. They just stayed in marriages because they were, the community would look at them bad if they got divorced. People are sometimes more scared of the taboo of being divorced than being in a terrible marriage.
I just want to go back to that question again of like, do we feel the societal pressures of getting married young? I also don't believe in dating for a long period of time. Studies show the couples that date for 5 years and over and then get married, they eventually get divorced.
All of them?
Majority, a good percentage of them. And I think that like the young people shouldn't be pressured to start dating if they're not ready for marriage. once you're ready for marriage, that's your time to start dating. At 18 years old,
But when are they ready? Look at this religious community of our Bukharian community. A lot of girls who were brought up in a more religious atmosphere, 20, 23, they have to get married. That's what I hear. They do it within 3-4 months. Perhaps there's
I don't
something
believe
clicks.
you
I
should
don't know.
start dating for marriage unless you're ready for that commitment of marriage. You have to be mentally, emotionally, and financially ready for that.
But it takes time to find a person. Don't you need to date before you find that person?
What are you getting ready for also? I think it's what he touched on, which is kids. I mean, that is part of a marriage.
But today you could also have kids much later in life.
You can, but I think until you're ready for that, because you're bringing in a whole new person into the world. And unless you're ready for that, emotionally, mentally, everything, I don't think you should get married. I mean, unless you're planning on getting married and then just waiting.
Should have a partner or marriage as a partner, not necessarily marriage equals babies.
But let me just bring up a point. You're 100% right, marriage doesn't equal babies, but condom breaks, IUD doesn't work, birth control doesn't work. Now there's a baby in the
But
picture.
things
What do you
happen,
do?
but forget about babies.
Are you ready?
In order to, you can't start dating at 18 to get married, because at 18 you're not ready. I don't care what anybody says.
You could be, why not? Why?
In
If you're
today's
mature.
age, how are you gonna, 18 as a guy, let's say.
Some parents are ready to support.
Is that the parents' responsibility?
Can I jump in? Yeah, I do think there is Bukharian pressure on having kids early or in general because parents want grandchildren or grandparents want grandchildren or however you want to say it. And they want, I guess, the continuation of their name, the legacy. They just, I guess, want a continuation of the family. So I do think there is a little bit of pressure on that.
Here's my challenge to you. I'm sorry to say this, but see, you just said in a nicely friendly way, when people are ready, usually you can be ready at any age, but then you say parents want kids to have grandchildren. See, subconsciously, it's all about someone else wanting what you need. And that's, again, in a nutshell, where the issues are. It's not about you, what you want, even if you want it 10 years from now, it's your business. But as you want to do it because parents want you to have grandchildren. Again,
100%. And parents wanting grandchildren is not a great reason to have these children, because at the end of the day, these are your children and you're stuck raising them. Yes, but most grandparents are younger nowadays and they're working and they're not as involved in helping you raise the children. So you have to also be mature enough to realize that yes, they want these children, and of course we want them too, but we have to be committed. We're the ones stuck there in the middle of the night feeding and crying with a didiper and raising these children.
If they want it so bad, you could ask, are you willing to contribute? Are you willing to
They
be
can
there?
tell you whatever you want. That doesn't mean
They're not
it's
help.
going to happen.
Because I know also people that said, yes, we're going to help, and then when it comes down to it, this is too much. I raised my kids, it's time to you to raise yours.
Well, then you shouldn't have a say so how many kids I should have to have.
100%.
They just put the pressure on you.
Just quickly, you guys say that marriage is not about children, but nobody in your community is asking you after you get married, how are you guys having fun? You guys enjoying each other and bonding and connecting and having quality time? They just say, when's the kids coming? When are you having kids, okay, new?
Thank you to King David and Mikihana for sponsoring today's episode.
From premium sushi rolls to customizable poke bowls, Mikihana blends tradition with creativity in every bite. Located in the heart of Queens, it's your go-to spot for fast, healthy, and delicious kosher meals. Order now on Grubhub, Uber Eats, or Seamless. Marrying young is a way to escape personal responsibility or independence.
Have personally met a lot of people with that mentality. Oh, I'm gonna get married, he's gonna support me, or she's gonna be my, она мне будет готовить, and I'm gonna get catered and served. So yes.
I think it all comes down to the fact that the way girls or boys were brought up in the family, obviously they've seen the examples of their parents and they wanted to replicate it in marriage. I think that's why it's not so much that they want to escape responsibility, but as to replicate. So let's say if the household had 2 working parents, I think naturally they would tend to continue that, as you said by examples, right? I'm, for example, right now a CFO, as my husband says. I'm a chief family officer, and I hated every bit of it. So I can't wait to get back to the working environment.
For Bukharian women, I think, double standard. They gotta cook. If they work, they still gotta be with the babies. They still gotta do it all. Yeah, I think getting married young, a lot of these people just want to jump into having their mom replaced and do all the chores and everything for them. And I don't know today if most Bukharians are working or not, but I think women still have a double standard on them, and that kind of sucks.
Everything's extremely expensive, and you need a 2-income household in order to live comfortably. And also, when I got married young, it was never an option. My parents never raised me to be a traditional stay-at-home wife. In the Bukharian community, it was always like, you have to go to school, you have to get an education, you have to work. And that's what was expected of me. And I am the CFO of my family as well, but I do have a full-time job. And with all that responsibility, yes, I do cook and I clean and I take care of my children while my husband works, but he also helps out when he is home. There's no defined roles anymore for a majority of people that I know. Most of my friends are working moms and their husbands work and help out for the most part.
I do think that some people might look at it as a shortcut and to transition, let's say, into adult life, like the next step in their life, and I'm gonna get married, this is a shortcut. I don't think that's right. I think, like we mentioned before, people should do it when they are ready. And like he said before, the frontal lobe, majority of people, develops when they're around 25. Whether a person is younger or older than that, I feel that a person should just do it when they understand what they want out of a marriage, when they understand what they can bring to the marriage. Some people might say that, this question might imply they are immature or cowardly by coming into a marriage and thinking, hey, I'm gonna have somebody do things for me that I can't do, like to help me out or to cover up what I'm lacking. I think that if people get into a marriage early on and they don't prepare themselves, it can lead to confusion and resentment later on.
And I like what you said about marrying because they're gonna complete me or do something for me. I wanna get married because I'm lonely, I want companionship, I wanna quote unquote give. But deep down they're just bored and want the next best thing, and it seems like even in society, it's the next step. I think it's only recent that people are not getting married or they're getting married later, and a lot of people are not having kids. I'm curious, if you're financially stable though, let's say money's not a problem. Should a woman work and still have to do everything in the family and the husband kind of helps? Or is the ideal situation family full-time, husband works and provides full-time?
Ideally, yes, but that's not the ideal world that we live in today, I think.
Can I chip in? So I'm pretty sure Irina said she likes to work. You said you don't. I think it depends more on the person themselves. Personally, my wife likes to stay at home. Not that she likes it. She worked and she handled the house with kids and everything, and I saw it wasn't a good environment. Like, I saw how much it was stressing her out, so I said just take some time off, see how it works, and thank God it's a lot better that way. So my wife is at home. When she finds that right balance, she can do what she wants. She has my support on that. But I think it all depends case by case basis.
I didn't even realize that people actually think this way in terms of, I'll get married, I'll stay home. Like, to get married to be home or let somebody else to provide. Eddie, you follow the footsteps. I hope I influence you in some ways. Like, he travels, he experiences the world. But I don't know why the young people don't do this nowadays. Like,
again, it's the pressure.
What kind of pressure? Why pressure was my...
It's the pressure of getting married, having kids.
Really?
Going
To that
to
degree?
school, having a job, doing it quickly.
Is a woman a shalava if she lives alone?
Ooh, the way you pronounced it, but again, the way she pronounced it,
At least you know that word.
Yes,
I'm
According to Bukharians,
Yes.
I guess I told
Why?
you.
Wait. But it's okay for a man to live on his own, but a woman, if she lives on her own, she's a shalava? Why?
The same with if a guy sleeps with many women, he's considered a player. As if a woman sleeps with a lot of men, it's like
But she's not sleeping with anybody. She lives on her own.
Exactly, but people assume, that's the thing, like, I withstanded that pressure, and I always believed that it's not the marriage that defines me as an individual, it's me who defines me as an individual, you know? Ever since I didn't have my second half with me, it's like people don't look at you, people don't invite you, people avoid you, people say, все будет хорошо, Ирочка, все будет хорошо.
As their approval.
Like, I'm not a lost life. Ты не переживай, все будет хорошо. Okay, I didn't even ask, I'm fine, you know?
So why is it taking us so long to go from like, oh, a woman cannot live on her own. If she lives on her own, there's something wrong with her. Why can't you just be independent? A little privacy from your family. You don't have to be 30 years old living with your parents.
But not only privacy, you know.
Of when are you coming? Where are you going? Who cares? You're an adult.
But you know what? You won't believe how much autonomy that you gain from this. Every individual should experience that before marriage.
That's nice belief, but it's not the belief of.
Well, I live that life, and I hope other people do too.
What I'll say is that this all just proves a very big stigma that the Bukharian community is obsessed with sexual purity and different connotations of it.
Well, it's about you, young generation, to change it.
It's up to the young generation to change it.
Should you live on your own before you get married? Raise your hand if yes.
Your expectations raise to an unrealistic standard as you get older.
I think yes, because you are more defined in who you are. You have the time to explore yourself, and therefore you're not willing to be a little bit flexible on your standards, and you are much less likely to be moldable after a certain age.
Yeah, I think when you're young, you're a lot more naive, so everything's gonna probably work out. And then when you're older, you start to get a little bit more realistic.
You build up more walls around you.
Is that bad?
The older you get, the more you're looking for that perfect person.
The more you create the fit.
You are not, because your standards are so high and you're looking for that perfect person, you're not willing to work with the imperfections of another person.
And I think it's worse today because of social media.
100%. We look on Instagram, we look on TikTok, we look at Facebook, and everybody looks so perfect, but nobody's perfect.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, the same standard, what I was looking for when I was 23 or 38, honestly, was the same. I can't say my standards were changed. My approach perhaps was a little changed. If before I kind of omitted certain things, I didn't perhaps focus too much. At 40, obviously things were noticeable more prominently, I think.
So that's the point. When you were younger, you were okay with letting something slide. When you got older and you were looking for the second time, you weren't as willing to let the red flags slide.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between what she's saying. She's saying it was more realistic and she kind of knew better what she wanted. Majority of people, yes, they probably do have an unrealistic expectation the longer they wait.
The standards, to me at least, were the same at age of 18, 25, 35, or 50.
A lot of guys in today's day and age that are an age, or even girls, oh, I texted her, she didn't respond, we're done. They don't want to put in the work.
Didn't money matter differently when you got older?
It wasn't demanding that I need Louis Vuitton tomorrow from him. You know, it was not about him supplying to me. It was me supplying me.
Girls getting married young, they want the house, they want the vacations, they want the Louis Vuittons, they want the Gucci's, they want all of that without putting in the work yet.
Yes, that's why everybody's bored.
And even for the younger, forget about the older dating pool. Even the younger ones, they're realistic. Their expectations aren't realistic. In the religious community, I know guys who work. The girls they date want learners. They want a guy who goes to a kollel and learns from morning to night. But they also want, but he doesn't bring home a real income. But they also want the cars, the vacations, the bags, and everything. How does that work?
Because they're trying to copy
Those
somebody else.
expectations are unrealistic on both ends. The younger group of the dating pool has unrealistic expectations, and so do the older ones. The older expectations, they were looking for a perfect person that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's for a different reason though. I mean, naturally, I think your expectations get more unrealistic maybe when you're older because we don't really acknowledge or realize we're aging until something like hits us in the face with it. So we're probably still thinking we can get the same quality person. And then as time goes on, it starts to dawn on you that you're just slowly phasing out of the sexual marketplace, for lack of a better word. And they start to think, no, I still want this kind of guy, or someone with a lot of money, or someone really handsome, or whatever, or nice.
Do you know, I know people who are, due to prostate cancer, were impotent, and they still found relationship at age of 60, and a very successful relationship, very happy.
I do believe people, as they grow, definitely raise their standards. I feel like majority of people today will raise their standards as they grow older. Personally, I know people who, when speaking to them, they say that they want a certain type of guy or girl, but they also want them to be like this, and they also want them to have so many different like boxes to check off, and it's hard for me to tell them to break the news. Like, I'm sorry, it's just, it doesn't exist. What you want is somebody to literally do everything for you and to give to you something that you need to learn to give to yourself before you come to a marriage. The sooner people realize that, and I think the best way for people to realize that is get off their phone, stop watching social media, because I feel like that is where all the unrealistic expectations come from.
You know, a lot of people also have, with social media, we're all idolizing the same kind of beauty and the top talent in the world. And we all want the perfect person. And even if the perfect person did exist, we forget that they might not want us. That the perfect person is quite amazing, and they're probably not gonna want someone that's not that amazing. I mean, what qualities do you really have to offer that are so unique that you're going to attract the person that a billionaire wants or the top supermodel? You know what I mean? You gotta be a little, you know, if you're from an average family and a regular neighborhood in Queens and, you know, middle, high income maybe, and you're quasi-intelligent and your ideas are probably from tweets and other things that are regurgitated from other humans, like, how special are you to really think you can just, yeah, I'm gonna get sexy and intelligent and also really nice, doesn't have an ego, but has all the reason to have an ego, and is super rich and thinks I'm the best, like 90% of humanity, this amazing human being wouldn't even look at. So I think we gotta get a little bit more realistic in many ways. Bukharians in general are pretty up there in the, you know, head in the clouds. We think we're amazing. We build these marble houses, which kudos, that's kind of nice. You know, it's not easy, today's economy.
When I was dating, I told my friends, if the guy is rich, doesn't mean he'll share with you. Doesn't mean he'll be nice to you. So I just have this one little message told the dating Bukharian men, girls and guys, or men or women, that stop looking for boxes to check off. Work on yourself, build that confidence, build that maturity, flexibility, and have good intentions just to build a good family. And everything else will come along.
I know a lot of girls will say no to a guy because of his profession. I'm gonna tell one thing. A doctor and a lawyer can still beat his wife, and a barber can treat his wife like a princess. Mm-hmm. So profession has nothing to do with it. Choose the person, not what they do.
When did you get married?
22.
When do you think is a good age to get married?
Between 22 and 25 for a woman, 25 and 30 for a man.
22 and 33, 27.
23, first time, yes. 40, the second. And I think 30 is a good age.
Got married 29. There is no age. It's all about being ready here and everything else.
I got married at 20. I agree. I think that there isn't really a good age. I think people should read the book when they are ready to date. I recommend a book called 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. You don't have to read all 101. It's a great book. I read it after I got married. Didn't find out about it till recently, but I think it's a great book. I think people should really understand what the purpose of a marriage is. I don't think there really is an age.
Can you pass me a pillow scope size?
If you stayed till the end, drop an emoji in the comments and tell us what you think about this episode. Be sure to follow Bukh.official on Instagram to look out for casting calls for future episodes. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you want to see next.